Okay, we're recording. So, this is, well, me, obviously. And I was effectively asked to record a video just to demonstrate how Eraser, the Zane skill, is broken, and, or rather, how it is imbalanced, as I would call it, or whatever. Like, every single thing that's broken about it, basically. So first off, a few things to explain. Yeah, Guardian rank disabled, obviously, because I just want this to be like as, I wouldn't say biased, but you get what I mean. I just want this to be as clear as possible. Like, I have no heavy weapon damage on my artifact. Also, this artifact only has two secondary stats because it double rolled with movement speed, or rather it got a hasty prefix as well as a movement speed passive, which are not mutually exclusive, unlike many other passives and prefixes that can roll with the same, that give you the same bonuses. And max size, just because if I use the Hustler, this also gives me max size. Right now I want to avoid the Hustler though because of its bonus crit damage, since this is just for demonstration purposes right now. So yeah, skill tree, this is just so that I get my cannon back quicker. And then here, this is so I don't take self damage, like I can just shoot the ground with the Nukem and just, you know, not take any damage. Then here, I also avoid anything that will give me like straight up damage. So especially while on momentum, because even if I did want to use it, because it would be like one consistent damage number or damage up, it isn't, because this thing like constantly changes whenever you move in a certain speed. So now I just wanted to avoid that for being as clear as possible, like I said. Then violent speed, this is just to like get around maps quicker. Reload speed, same thing. Help steal, just because I cannot use the barrier. I'll explain it later. This is just so I get bonus kill skill bonuses, like for reload speed and movement speed, help steal. Fire rate is just to get on the tree for this again. And this is also just to go down the tree. No. It's gonna keep my barrier up later, but right now it's just for the demonstration purposes. So I can't use barrier because even when holding it, like when it's thrown on the ground and you are like wearing it like, come on, like this, you can see it still gives me like damage buff. For instance, this rocket launcher has a damage of 193k, and not 139k, and I'm getting 159k here, which is obviously more than I want for consistent numbers, just to be safe. Here are the two rocket launchers I'm going to be using. They're the exact same. Just this one has the splash on it for, again, demonstration purposes later. And I have given the splash damage anointed one this skin, so that we can differentiate between them like at any time when I'm holding one of them. Yeah. What else? Puppetry. Yeah, in Puppetry, we've got Eraser, the skill that is what this video is about. Then the same thing as before, just this to get like some armor back whenever I kill something with crits, which is, you know, no damage. Health, regeneration, accuracy, which doesn't matter. Sprint and shooting at the same time, which is nice. More accuracy, which also doesn't matter, just because of this arc, which isn't affected by accuracy. So yeah. Then here, more reload speed, more fire rate for when I do have a 2-clip mag. Then more cooldown rate, which is for the cannon. Normally I would use a commitment, but this also gives me gun damage, so I wanted to avoid that. And lastly, Eraser, which is, like I said, the only thing that's going to give me like any damage whatsoever. Any damage bonuses at any time. I'm going to be using, oh, I was on 10, I want to use 11, just because that's also like as neutral as possible. What else? I think that should be it. Yeah, on the class mod, there's also just splash radius. And the only thing that gives me like bonus damage is the Hustler's like inbuilt crit bonus, which is less of an actual crit and more of like a fadeaway crit. which effectively means that like buffs, for instance, like Headsman's Hands, which gives you critical hit damage, doesn't apply to it. Which, in my opinion, is like on paper that's a good idea, but in execution it just forces you to effectively use weapons with the Hustler that explicitly do not rely on crit damage, on critical hit damage bonuses to do damage. Because this forced crit from this thing just doesn't get anything like class mod crit bonuses, skill crit bonuses, and so on and so forth. For instance, if you use it with the Unforgiven with like its up to 432 crit bonus, it just doesn't get that. Whenever it gets like one of these fake crits. But yeah, that should be everything, I believe. So, first things first, regular shot, 193k. 139k, sorry. Then when I hit, oops, wrong button. When I hit a crit, that should mean it should do double the damage because this thing has no crit damage on it, no crit damage bonuses, as you can see on the item card. Okay. So yeah, that was 279. If I hit it again with come on, okay. Where is it? It was too slow. I cannot aim this thing. I just went for the Nukem, by the way, because of its ridiculous splash radius. Because then I can use it with the Hustler later on to demonstrate another thing. Yeah, 613k as you can see there. Which is like around, that should be just the original crit damage of, what was it, 2 something, right? 250, 279, right? Yeah, 279 times 2.2 from the eraser damage of 101%. I'll include a document with all the related math like in detail, because I am not that good at doing it on the fly. So you may have already noticed the first problem, which is that splash weapons, whenever they crit, especially like ones with large radiuses or radii, I guess, whatever, you get the idea, can hit the same target multiple times. So if I shoot Jack here in the head with a crit, and Nukem explodes over there, and because of its radius, it just hits him anyways from all over there, and just deals damage to him again. Which already makes Eraser like favor certain guns over others, especially splash ones, because, well, you only need to hit them once in a crit spot, right? And not, twice, because you can't hit the same enemy twice with a regular bullet. Then, I'm gonna switch now to the splash anoint thing. So here is it. Normally when I shoot it, same damage, 139k. And if I drop a menace cannon and therefore activate the anoint on it, yeah, 418k, pretty decent. So if I hit a crit now, it should be around like 836k, I believe. I need to use photo mode more often. What was that? Yeah, 837k. Whoops. So now, since we can like do at least some basic math in our head, we know that the eraser shot is based on the Nukem's damage, on the hit damage rather, on the critical hit damage. So it's gonna multiply the 837k damage times 2.2 from having 120% bonus eraser damage bonus, basically. I say bonus there a lot, you get the idea. So we should expect like around 1.6, 1.7 million, so like the game auto runs like in like 1 or 2 million, so it should be like in that range. Oh yeah, particles disappear if you stay in photo mode for so long. But I'm gonna hope that this hits him now. If we just let it explode and watch the second hit, if we can see the number somewhere, please. There it is, 5 million. Which, that's a bit more than expected, isn't it? So yeah, as you can see, the only damage bonus I have for the Nukem right now, or for the splash damage rather, is the 200 splash anoint. So if we multiply the 837, 837, okay, with the 200 splash again, and then with the times 2.2 from the eraser damage bonus, we get some number that's like around 5 million. Like I said, I'll just attach a document later on. So that by itself is, you know, it's very good and whatnot. But that's like by far not everything we can do to this thing. For instance, with the Hustler class mod, we get basically a chance to hit critical hits without having to hit critical hits. With regular guns is, you know, still okay, because you still have to hit the enemy. But with splash weapons, we can just like aim up there, hope that we get a crit with this. I'll just activate this bunch. Oh, should use the other rocket launcher. Come on, give me a crit. Yeah, 830k, that's... You saw the 830k there for a second. Yeah, there, 830k gun. So what's happening right now is the Hustler gives the Nukem a fake crit with a let's just call it an arbitrary number amount of damage, because it can like vary depending on how many stacks we have, which the stacks are just never shown anywhere, which is kind of annoying for like doing math. But you get the idea. I get to hit crits without having to hit crits, or rather having to hit the enemy at all with the bullet itself. What happens then is that the game effectively draws a line from the center of the explosion, like where the bullet hit, to the target. I'm gonna assume it draws the line either to the closest like distance between the model and the explosion impact thing, or just like to the root bone of the model. Either one of those are equally likely. Either way, it doesn't matter that much. And then it just throws an eraser bullet, quote unquote, in that direction. So if I shoot over there, I got somewhere. If I shoot over there and get a Hustler crit proc, the fake crit proc, on this handsome jag over here, it's going to draw a line and act as if I have shot a Nukem in this direction. Because nope, goes from here and then just basically like goes like this basically. So as you can imagine, these two factors are very, very imbalanced by themselves, like without even adding any damage whatsoever. Then we've already got our next problem. If you hit more than one enemy at a time, which is pretty likely given this bloody splash radius, just as an example, like I said, you can stack the Hustler twice, thrice, as many times as you want to get that bonus crit chance. And that secondary bullet that is spawned by the Eraser is able to crit again from Hustler. Now, luckily, at the moment, Eraser is either bugged or is that intended. I don't know, because Eraser says that you gain increased damage for every enemy pierced, but right now it only pierces one enemy, which is kind of lucky with this. Oh yeah, there you start. Which is kind of lucky with this, because otherwise you could theoretically at least gain just like one shot for an infinite chain, which constantly ramps up in damage exponentially. But yeah, this Eraser bullet cannot chain with itself, luckily, on crit, but it does. It is able to crit from the Hustler again, which is, well, it's just more damage in the formula, honestly. So, now we combine both of these factors, just like from the Hustler and from the Nukem. Actually, I'll just make it easy on myself and just hope I get I just get one of these fake crits with a normal headshot, I guess you could call it. Let's see. Actually, since critical hit which will consume all stacks, I don't actually know if all critical hits just like remove all of your stacks, or if only the ones caused by the class mod do that. Oh yeah, there you saw an 8 million. So yeah, you just saw that it can crit again, even on a singular target, as long as I hit like the first regular crit. Cool. So just with these two factors, I should at least be able to do one of the easier endgame content in this game on Mayhem 11, which is the Slaughter Shaft on Pandora. There it is. Once again, this is just for like demonstration purposes. Loading screens. We gotta buy some ammo. I'll just go through first round, or like first wave of the first round, whatever. As earlier, I won't activate my shield as for clear numbers. I will activate all of the barrels right now because I'm definitely going to kill myself with those. Yeah, there we got 5 million. Oh, also I am, I forgot to mention this, I'm using a stopgap just so that whenever I activate my action skill, which is the Mantis Cannon, which you can activate quite frequently, I just get like 5-second immunity to everything. Just so that I have it easier. Yeah, that's our second problem. Because you can hit multiple crits at a time with the Hustler, you can also get like multiple of these secondary Nukem shots. And obviously these secondary Nukem shots can also hit multiple enemies because of their radius, and then can hit crits on a various amount of them. As you can see, just by itself, still not that great, but given that this is a DLC 1 weapon with no damage ups whatsoever, like of any skill tree or anything except for Eraser, I should honestly not even be able to even do the first wave in here. Also, yeah, the Nukem with its secondary projectile, because of its arc, does some weird things sometimes with how the secondary one is thrown. You get the idea. Go on. Okay. So now, as a secondary thing, I will try to demonstrate just how far you can take this stuff. Because, like I said, right now I was able to kill like somewhat endgame mobs of the base game on Mayhem 10 with the DLC 1 weapon without any significant damage ups except for like the anointment and the eraser skill itself. So I have prepared a secondary set of items, which is another Hustler. This one actually has a bit of damage on it, which is splash damage and sniper rifle damage, which I will call V2 because there are effectively two types of damage ups which you can get in this game, or like two types of. No, don't mind the two types. There are two damage ups that you can get on any character in the game, which apply to effectively every damage you do. For instance, or not every damage you do, but most of them do. For instance, if I have my Victory Rush artifact, then whenever I have it active, the effect active of the Victory Rush, then that will also apply to, for instance, my melees, my guns. I don't know, I don't know if it applies to Digiclone because he's kind of weird, but my drone definitely, Mantis Cannon definitely, and so on. You get the idea. And the important part about this is that these 18% damage are entirely multiplicative with nearly everything. The only thing that they're not multiplicative with, on Zane at least, is, where was it? The skill combo. It says it increases gun damage, but it just increases your V1 damage. Then the sniper damage on here is called V2 because V2 is pretty much the same, like, at least in how it works, in comparison with V1, but it is multiplicative of this V1 on here. So that's why they're called different things. This includes the sniper rifle damage on here and on here, as well as the purple capstone, armor and flint, which applies which is 25% V2 damage whenever you are scoped in. That on here, regular gun damage, not that big of a deal. I mean, it is with a proper setup, but not really with this. The most important part is the cooldown rate, because since this skill doesn't have a stack limit, you can just get like a lot of cooldown rate with the Mantis Cannon, which has the lowest cooldown in the entire game for some reason, and also 5 charges, which is more charges than Flak can possibly have, except with like an extra anointment used and a class mod to give him more charges, which I'd like to call a bit unbalanced, but you know, this is what this video is about. So I'm gonna respec a bit. One second. And just go for like something that actually does damage. What should I do? Alright, first off, I'm gonna get the barrier. I'm gonna go for this one because I don't need the action skill cooldown rate anymore. Because commitment is just gonna give me so much, it's unbelievable. Then we're going to go for brain freeze just to get down here. On the Mantis Cannon, when we're not going to use accuracy at all, like it's just not necessary. Then because of Hustler crits, which can proc the skill by the way, so yeah, that's nice. Yeah, on Hustler just gives you the ability to just crit with anything, so Deja Vu is actually kind of decent with that. Then, like I said, commitment for the cooldown rate. Headsman's Hand doesn't do anything, but it's nice for if you hit like an actual crit. With given that I'm going to be using a sniper, it's gonna happen sometimes, but you'll see why I'm just saying sometimes. Then sprinting and shooting is always nice. Just need to get down here, eraser, and that's it. I'm most of the time I'm not going to be scoped in, so I'm not even gonna bother with getting this skill. Though the fun thing about this thing is about this automatic status effect application is that whenever you scope in, hit a crit with brain freeze, it just instantly freezes the enemy, which is very, very nice. I don't even need to go in here for self-damage immunity. You'll see why in a second. So I can just go here for movement speed, here for gun damage, reload speed, 1 point in health steal, because this game is balanced, and you only need 1 point in this, because, yeah, honestly, anything more than 1 point is just a waste. Then, because now I don't really care about having accurate at least like accurate calculations anymore, as much at least, I'm just gonna give like 3 points in this, then 3 points in this for more duration on my barrier whenever I proc my cannon, which is like gonna be all the time. Then 2 more points in here, 1 more point in here, because this gives this more duration, this more reload speed, more health steal, more movement speed. Also kill skill efficiency for some reason affects battle momentum. Then what else? Oh yeah, right. It gives me more chance in here from 45 to 63. I flip the numbers around sometimes when I speak. Then here, commitment is a kill skill, so it gets more efficiency from that. Yeah, that was it. So, what I'm going to be using now is this root. Because what it normally does, I'm going to use this red suit to become immune to my own radiation damage. What the root normally does is pretty harmless. Like, it shoots once and has these like little explosions. Nice, nice, nice. Nothing very terrifying about that. If you give it splash radius, they get like, you know, a lot bigger. And if you give it more splash radius, because for some reason on artifacts, there are 2 parts on artifacts which can give you splash radius. One of the splash damage, I mean, sorry. One of which is the prefix hollow point. And one of which is the suffix, which is just called area of effect damage. But for some reason, the secondary area of effect damage passive also includes a radius upgrade of the same like amount as its damage counterpart, as its damage number as well, I think at least. Then radiation damage, always nice. elemental projector because of this huge explosion radius now. I'm just going to be like irradiated all the time, and also going to be immune to it from the red suit over here. And that procs my elemental projector, which gives me 117% bonus radiation damage whenever I'm irradiated. Then when I proc my Mantis Cannon, I get 200 splash. Then all of this stuff over here, I don't even know what to call this, honestly. I will go in here just so that I have an easier time to keep my barrier up without like thinking about it 24/7. I'll go for these two because I want to, in case I do kill anything with a crit from my cannon, I'd like to have those charges, and just pure more charges and more damage is always nice. Also gives me like an initial head start for being able to spam it 5 times, so I get more cooldown right off the gate, right off the start, and also more stacks of commitment. Yeah, anything else? Sniper damage is V2, I already covered that. Radiation damage is elemental damage. Oh yeah, elemental damage has the same thing as splash damage going on with it, as well as V1 and V2 do. Where whenever something is... Whenever Eraser decides to do its thing, you already see I'm hitting crazy numbers with this, like on the dummy, without like multiple targets or anything. Yeah, it just does the same thing, like gets bonus radiation damage each time it gets reflected, and so on. Now another bug, which you might have also noticed, is that whenever these things... Wait, is that not the case? Okay, I think they fixed that actually. Okay, so at least it used to be the case, that whenever these secondary projectiles quit, that they would not spawn one of their own, a copy of themselves, but rather a copy of the initial root shot, which would then be able to spawn more of these secondary projectiles, which would then bypass the restriction of Eraser, only being able to quote-unquote ricochet off of just one enemy, multiple times, I mean, only through one enemy, what's my meant to say. So yeah, I think that should cover everything. So yeah, basically infinite radius, not really, but like huge enough for you to effectively call it infinite. Double pellets, because this is a 1 pellet weapon, so you get double damage from playing dirty, you get help steal from that, you get gun damage on both of those, and all of this. You get the idea. So, to demonstrate... oh yeah, also, I forgot to mention one thing. Because Eraser is based on the on-hit damage, it also quote-unquote double dips. That's what people call stuff like this splasher and whatnot. It also double dips into enemy elemental resistances or weaknesses. So on this handsome Jack dummy down there, that doesn't really matter because he's neutral. He doesn't have any weakness or resistance to radiation. But for instance, if I'm shooting like at the Guardians and the Guardian Takedown, which have elemental weakness towards radiation, then that also gets applied multiple times. Also entirely multiplicative, and so on and so forth. So it's just... You're just stacking like exponential factor upon exponential factor. Which, if you ask me, personally, should not be a thing, but what do I know? I'm not a game developer, I'm just a player. So actually 2 things I want to demonstrate. One on Eden 6 with Graveward, who is, as far as I'm aware at least, the enemy with the most health in the game within one uninterrupted chunk of health. What I mean by uninterrupted is that obviously raid bosses have a lot more health than him, but they have like immunity phases and whatnot, and Graveyard just doesn't. Maybe the DLC 4 enemy Sponge Boss has more health than him, but I don't know that. Because I actually haven't checked on him in the game files yet. But Graveyard has around 1 billion health. Around, on M10 and whatnot. So if I just like shoot over there, without even aiming at him remotely. I don't hit him, okay, cool. If I shoot over here, yeah, he's just dead. He just instantly bloody dies. Which is, you know, balanced. Especially because his chest doesn't have the same crit weakness as his hand does. So you get the idea. Stupidly strong on singular enemies, but what about multiple enemies? Well, as you can imagine, since how good Nukem was earlier, which is, like I said, a DLC 1 weapon, no damage ups except for Racer and splash damage, whatever. How good the Nukem was on multiple enemies, you can imagine how well this is on multiple enemies. Because each time that this explodes, it can crit, it has the explosion radius of effectively the entire map, and so on and so forth. I forgot to equip my barrier. So I'll just equip these two. That's basically my default setup. Barrier for basically being immune because Zane's balanced at the moment. So you shoot once, and yeah, everything's dead. Like this isn't even engaging anymore. It's just madness. You just shoot once in the air and well, oh, game crashed. Well, I mean, I didn't really need to demonstrate more than that, honestly. You get the idea. Oh god, no. Please don't tell me that everything just crashed. No, I need to save this. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop the recording at this point, just because I've gotten pretty much everything across I wanted. So, yeah. I think that should be it. If there are any more questions, feel free to add me on Discord. What was my tag? Lone Masterino, just as you would spell it normally. Hashtag 045 is my Discord tag. Email, you've already got that from 2K probably. And yeah, that should be everything. That should be everything you would need. So yeah. I think if there are any more questions, like I said, just add me somewhere or like, yeah, you get the idea. I hope I was clear enough with everything, and if not, just message me. See ya, and goodbye.